In this video, I am going to be covering some less common moves in chess as well as basic strategies to help you improve your game. Castling is a special move that requires a long series of conditions to be met. First, your king must not have been moved or placed in check. Second, you must have a rook that also has not been moved. Third, you must have a clear path between your king and that rook. This means that no pieces can be between them, and none of the squares can be threatened by any of your opponent's pieces. If all of these conditions have been met, you can castle. To do so, you move your king 2 spaces directly toward the rook, and then you move the rook to the opposite side. Castling allows you to place your king away from the center where he is more likely to be threatened, and moves your rook closer to the center where it can be of greater use. Many people use castling early to establish a defense. This is an unusual capture in chess that is rarely used but occurs on occasion. En passant, or in passing in French, is a capture that is used when a pawn moves 2 spaces on its first move. If there is a pawn that could have captured the pawn if it had only moved a single space instead of 2, that pawn may pass the other as though it were capturing, and capture the pawn that it could have attacked. Again, this is a rarely used rule and is fairly obscure. If someone asked, try to remember the name. Promotion is what occurs when a pawn reaches the back line of your opponent's side of the board. When this happens, you may promote the pawn into any other piece other than the king by removing the pawn and replacing it with another piece. The typical choice is to take a queen, being the most powerful piece, and this is why chess tournaments will often have extra queens in case they are needed. However, any piece may be used, and occasionally a pawn will promote to others, typically a knight, although these instances are rare, consisting of only about 3% of all recorded promotions. Protecting a piece means to have another piece on your side that could capture any piece that captures it. This is probably one of the more important strategies to keep in mind while playing. This is best demonstrated rather than told. In this example, the central pawn here is protected by both another pawn and the queen. The pawn can be captured, but then the capturing piece will be taken in turn. If a chain of events is followed, the end result, ideally, is that the queen captures the last piece and now controls the center of the board. So long as your pieces are protected, your opponent needs to consider the risk and reward of what will happen. Try to see every possible capture and determine whether you will be at an advantage or a disadvantage when all the moves are finished.